Hello, my crafty friends. It's Marie from Marie's Vermont Creations, and today I'm going to share with you the contents of the Simon Says Stamp limited edition Mother's Day card kit for 2022. As of the filming of this and my doing the voiceover, it is still available. These limited edition kits do tend to sell out quickly, so if you like what you see here, I would head on over and order it. I received 3 alcohol inks. One of them is an alcohol pearl called Alchemy, and then 2 regular alcohol inks, one in a pink and one in a teal color. I'm not sure if everyone's colors are different. A piece of candy, which you always get. And then you get this really fun pattern paper pack, and it is single-sided. There are 36 different designs in this paper pack. So I'm just going to open it up and share with you what is in here. I do a project at the end, so stay tuned for that, using some of the contents of the kit. I originally thought I was going to utilize some of this pattern paper, but I ended up not using it, so I'm looking forward to some projects in the future that I will use up some of this pattern paper. I don't know if any of you are like me and you tend to hoard the pattern paper. That's definitely a real problem. I have a large amount of pattern paper and backgrounds that I have made that I need to work on using. So that is a goal of mine. I have an upcoming video for Handmade Happiness, and I do utilize 3 different backgrounds that I have in my stash. So I'm looking for ways to use them. So if you have any recommendations, feel free to leave them down below. I think I may try to do Crafty Owl's sheet load of cards with some of the pattern paper that I have. So some of these card stocks or pattern papers have gold accents in them, which is really neat. And they're very, a lot of them are very vibrant, but there's a wide variety. There's florals, there's butterflies, there's birds, there's this rainbow, some black and white, all sorts of variety. And then this last gold, completely gold piece of paper. So I really enjoyed those. You get this die set, which makes like a cone of flowers. These large glittery gold embellishments. And then this really neat stencil. It's a layering stencil to make this butterfly. It's 3 different stencils. So you have the generic shape of the butterfly, and then one that does a detailed design, and then one that I think is just dots, and they layer over each other. So you could do one in ink, one in an embossing paste. You could do, heat embossing. You get a piece of the Yupo paper, which is in a 2-size card front. You get this die that says "You mean the world to me," and the shadow die. A standard envelope with peel back sticking to seal it. Some sticker embellishments. Here is the coupon code that I received if anyone is interested in saving $5 off their order. These strips, they're like the old label maker, and I absolutely love those. I use those quite frequently if I want to add another sentiment to my card, or sometimes I'll put them on the inside of the card. And I am just opening these panels. These are on watercolor cardstock, and they are different floral designs, so you could color them in any medium that you choose. These are beautiful. I think they might be from Susie Plantamera, but you get quite a few of those. And then the stamp set has some lovely florals, some butterflies, some great sentiments, this large Happy Mother's Day, love you, different sentiments, and then a slimline envelope. And then lastly, your cardstock, which is a teal, a green, a very bright pink, and then a full sheet of gold foil cardstock. So this is the contents of this kit. Like I said, it was still available. Hopefully it still is. If you're interested in like what you see here, definitely head on over to Simon Says Stamp to get that. So I am decided to use the alcohol ink that I received, because I absolutely love making alcohol ink backgrounds, and I haven't done so in a while. So I'm going to use all 3 colors. I put down some of my blending solution, and I am just using my Tim Holtz air puffer and just to move the ink around. What I need to work on is not doing CPR on this air blower, because I have been rocketing ink and paint and different things all over my desk. My camera mount has paint all over it. When I get into splattering or doing anything that requires moving some sort of color medium, I end up with it everywhere. So just a note for you, if you do that, the same thing, you don't need to squeeze it quite so hard, and it will move where it needs to go. If you're finding your inks aren't moving well enough, you can add some more blending solution to get things to move a little bit better. So I am just going to continue adding color where I'd like it, and they mix and create new colors. There was some green and a bit of an orange tint and definitely a beautiful purple color when these mix right here. I love that color. So I just continue to do that until I get a panel that I enjoy. That's the beauty of alcohol ink. You just keep going until you have a look that you enjoy. You can take isopropyl alcohol and use that as well, but it has different properties. Tim Holtz has done great videos explaining the difference between the blending solution and the isopropyl alcohol and which ones it's appropriate to use, and which ones it's not, because I don't believe the isopropyl alcohol is good to use with the pearls, if I remember, but he definitely has great videos on what to use and when for the look that you're going for. So I'm just going to clean up this mess that I have here, just using some alcohol that I keep in a spray bottle to keep, my glass mat clean. And then I have a very well loved piece of foil that I am putting down to try to catch some of the sticky bits on this panel before it completely dries, so that the foil will stick to it. Originally, I was planning on using the pattern paper that you see to the right, and that has some gold foiling in it, so I wanted my accents to match. But as you can see, the bright colors of the alcohol ink background versus the more muted colors of the pattern paper, I didn't think would go very well together. So I'm just going to take my trimmer and cut this down to 5 1/4 by 4, and then I lined up each corner on my blade of my trimmer and just cut that at a diagonal. It doesn't have to be exact. I was originally going to cut the pattern paper to match, to have them meet up together, but I opted to cut down a black card panel to the same dimensions of 5 1/4 by 4. And I am going to now take a sentiment from the stamp set that says, I believe life is better with you, and put that in the lower right hand corner of this panel. And I am going to use Versamark, but first I'm going to treat this with the Tailored Expressions embossing tool. I bought this when it first came out and realized the other day I had not used it yet. I have not heat embossed since I bought the thing. I don't know if anybody else runs into that, where you have so many different mediums and things to do that you forget to do certain things, or you just run out of time or focus on one particular method of doing things for a while before you switch it up. So I opted to heat emboss my sentiment using Versamark ink and my gilded embossing powder from Brutus Monroe. Now don't be like me. Get the coffee filter, get the piece of paper, something to catch the embossing powder. Anyways, I made a mess and used my hand to sweep it up, scoop up what I could, and then I'm going to heat this until it's smooth and melted, which watching metallic embossing powder melt is always a good thing for me. And then once it cools a little bit, I'm just using a Swiffer to clean off that excess powder that came from that powder tool, and I also will use it on my desk to clean up the extra embossing powder that might be on my glass mat. And then I'm just going to use the Barely Arts liquid glue and glue down this ink paneled corner into the upper left hand corner of my panel. And I thought I was going to be done, and I thought, it's still a little plain. So I thought about taking the floral stamp set and putting it in that blank space on the black cardstock, but I wasn't sure if I'd be able to position it and stamp it in a nice way, so I opted to go with one of the butterflies instead. So I'm just going to put this back in my mini MISTI, use that anti-static tool again from Tailored Expressions, because I've touched that panel and it's black cardstock, so I didn't want any oils from my fingers to be getting everywhere. Use my Versamark again, and then I am going to use the gilded embossing powder. Again, I didn't get out a coffee filter or a piece of paper to catch it. I didn't even fully coat the butterfly with the embossing powder, so I had to do it a second time and clean up my mess because, again, I was being a lazy crafter and not using all the tools at my disposal. So cleaning up my mess, I will realize that I didn't do a good job and coat it again because I could still see the Versamark ink underneath it. It didn't have any of the embossing powder, and I worried that, I hadn't stamped it correctly, but no, I just indeed did not put the embossing powder completely over the image. And then I'll just take my heat tool and quickly melt that. It didn't take long because it was already pretty warm from doing the sentiment. And then once it's cooled, again, you could use a Swiffer cloth, a regular microfiber cloth, or just your hand to take the excess powder off of the panel. I do find with darker cardstock, sometimes it does hang around a little bit. So you can always take a very slightly damp baby wipe and wipe off the excess powder from there. So now I'm just going to take that same liquid glue and adhere the entire panel down to a white card base. And then once I get that adhered down as straight as I possibly can, I am going to take a liquid shimmer pen, a little brush pen, and fill in the entire butterfly. It gives it a little something in person. You don't really see it on the camera as much, but in person it gives it just a little bit of shine, which every card needs, in my opinion. So that is going to complete today's project. That is the contents of the kit and a quick project to do. If you have any questions or suggestions that you'd like to leave me a comment down below. I am happy to interact with everybody that leaves me kind words. And as always, I hope that you have a great day.